feedback. There's a lot of buzz surrounding this card, so it's time to talk about it. In November 2020, the OCG is going to get the set Phantom Rage, and one of the cards featured in the set is called Feedback. It's a normal trap that does the following. Banish any number of cards from your extra deck face down, and if you do, banish face up that many random face down cards from your opponent's extra deck until the end phase. Now, I've heard numerous feedback on this card. Get it? Feedback?
What the hell is that?
Whatever. The discussion surrounding this card ranges from it not being fair to not being a big deal at all due to stronger cards being out there. And while the latter is true, feedback is the kind of card in which it was only a matter of time that it was created. Very much like the three promo cards Nibiru, Shifter, and Dark Ruler. The creation of feedback also tells us that maybe Konami has been paying attention to the online gaming scene more than we thought. Master Rule 5 has been wreaking havoc in the OCG and the TCG. Decks have been pumping out Negate and Stun boards far more consistently than ever, and while the promo cards have helped rein in that kind of carnage during MR4, MR5 is a whole different animal, and we all knew it was coming. Now that we know that cards like Link Cross and Needle Fiber are going to be around for a while, cards like Feedback will give duelists more options in slowing down combo-heavy strategies, and despite the cost that is associated with Feedback, any deck that doesn't utilize their extra deck can take advantage of it. So why is Feedback a good card? Well, for one, it's a normal trap, meaning it's searchable via Trap Trick and Lilith Lady of the Laminate. If you combine those cards along with draw power, getting Feedback in your opening hand can work in your favor. Feedback is also a crazy card for going first decks. If you're able to get it in your opening hand through searching or draw power, you can activate it during your opponent's main phase. Ditch your entire extra deck to disable your opponents for a turn. And the most they can do is just normal or special summon monsters from their main deck. Less negates means that you will be able to continue with your own plays. I have a few decks that can abuse this tactic, but the one that can take advantage of it the most would be the Banish deck. While Chaos Max will always be my baby, Banish is like the adult child that has moved away that I don't talk to very often. I don't play very often, but I still have a certain connection to it. If you want to see my profiles for this deck, you can check them out in the description below, but thanks to Feedback, I've changed this deck to have a added control element, as though it needed anything else. So I'm going to show you how you can abuse this card and what you can do to protect yourself from it. So this is my revised Banish deck, or Banish Control, which is what I'm calling it now. It has the same win conditions as before. You can deck them out, you can gain a ton of life points so that you can run out the clock, you can one-punch them, you can stall them, you can burn them to death, or you can just frustrate them into just quitting. But now we have the added control element, so yes, this is probably going to be even more annoying than before. So you're going to start off with kaijus. We're going to have 5, so we're going to have the Jizukiru, I believe you say it, and 3 Dogorans. So yes, this is essential. You can use this to get rid of problematic monsters, but you're also going to use this to trigger off the Inferno Tempest with 0 attackers. 2 Gizmek. You can use 3 if you like, but I'm using 2 here because it's always been the most balanced number. It's also a dark monster, which is really important. It banishes cards, which helps you gain life points. Dimension Shifter, it's only good going first, but because it's a dark monster, it also helps out with the draw power if you happen to get this in your second turn. Now 3 Necroface. Be very careful with Necroface, because once it's banished, both you and your opponent must banish the top 5 cards from your deck. So this helps out with the decking out strategy. However, if you do normal summon it, you can return all of your banished cards back to your deck and you can start over, which can be very annoying. 3 Grand Manju. This is the one punch guy. If you banish a ton of cards, normal summon this guy, and bam, you can go in for the kill. Swift Scarecrow, 2 of them, and 3 Battle Faders. Battle Faders is dark, which is important. They are level 1s. They also have 0 attack, so if you get a kaiju on your opponent's side of the field, you can use the Swiss Scarecrow or the Battle Fair to slam into it, do 3,000 or more damage to yourself, and trigger off the lovely Inferno Tempest. But they're also really good defense, so if you have nothing to work with and your opponent were to attack, you can ditch either card to end the battle phase. Eater of Millions, you can special summon him by banishing any 5 cards you want, so he's also a dark, and the great effect with him is that he's also a real good stun card. So if your opponent has a very difficult monster out, you can attack with him and just banish it. It's non-targeting. So for magic, we have Allure of Darkness, just 2. This is why all the dark monsters are so important, because Allure of Darkness allows you to draw 2 cards, and you can banish a dark monster. Using 3 Pop Desires now, you're banishing 10 cards, drawing 2 cards, and because we have 3 Necrophage, you can normal summon Necrophage, and you can put those cards all back into your deck. We will not be using the Pot of Extravagance because we want as many extra deck cards as possible to stun our opponent to get rid of their extra deck. Inferno Tempest, for obvious reasons, you can help deck your opponent out, plus all the banished cards can pump up your Grand Manju and also give you a shit ton of life points, which is what Soul Absorption is for. You can gain so many life points that your opponent won't be able to whittle you down, and you can win by life point count. I've done this before. I believe a personal record for me is I had all 3 of these down, and I ended the game with over 80,000 life points. It's rare, but trust me, it's possible. DD Dynamite, I'm still using these 3 cards. Once you have a ton of cards on your opponent's side of the field banished, activate this card, 300 damage for each of their banished cards, so you can burn them to death with this. 2 Evenly Matched, it's really good, a defense card. If your opponent gets out a bunch of cards, you can ditch this, reduce their field. Again, it's all about banishing. Trickstar Reincarnation, normally I use 3, but I'm now using 2. It's a really good strategy disruptor. If this card is set and your opponent happens to customize their hand, boom, you can flip this up. They have to discard their entire hand, well, banish their entire hand, and they have to draw more cards. So it helps with your life gain, banishing on their side of the field, and also helps out with decking them out. Trap Trick, one of the most important cards here, because we have a lot of normal cards. It helps you to search out your DD Dynamite, search out your Trickstar Reincarnation, even search out the Evenly Matched. Yes, you need more than one in order to get this to work. And of course, our beloved Feedback from the OCG. So yes, you can search this card out with Trap Trick. So that's how this main deck works. Extra deck, we have our usual Super Polymerization target, Starving Venom, Predaplan, Dragon Staple, and Mud Dragon the Swamp. You're not going to use these much because this where it probably is side decked. Nightmare Unicorn, Phoenix, Cerberus, they're standard. IP Masquerina, you know, very handy. Link Karibo, good for defense. You know, you can just link off one of your level 1s if you need to. Clara and Rushka, they're just 0 attackers, so if you need to get them out to slam into a kaiju, you can use that. Same thing with Salamangreat. Almirage, same idea. Now, Relinquish Anima, don't have this card physically, which is why I'm doing this profile electronically. This card can be devastating in this deck, especially when you use kaijus. Now, for the side deck, 2 Lilith Lady Laminates is a dark card. You can definitely use her to search out your Feedback if need be. 2 Nibiru, really good going first card. You can disrupt your opponent's combos. If you're going second, Dark Ruler No More will allow you to get off your plays if they get negate board up. Twin Twisters for the back row hate. 2 Super Polymerizations. You know, just in case, you can use your opponent's monsters as the materials. And 3 Cursed Seal of the Forbidden Spell. It's a real good card that no one sees coming. When you activate it, you can discard 1 magic card and negate the activation. You destroy it, and if you do, your opponent cannot use or activate magic cards of the same name. So if you're going against a ritual deck, they try to use a ritual magic card, you use this card, they can't use any more of that ritual magic. So yes, that is how this deck works. So let's try Test Hand. Okay, this, oh boy, this is a good hand right away. We have Feedback, which is what we always want. We also have Defense. Swift Scarecrow. So what we would do is I would set feedback and I would pass. So my opponent would draw their card right away. We would activate feedback. We can sack most or all of our extra deck to disable their extra deck, and they would have to rely on their main deck to build a board of some kind. And even if they get something else to attack into us in their battle phase, we have Swift Scarecrow. So we can ditch that to the graveyard, end the battle phase, and they have to continue on. So on our turn, we just have the Allure of Darkness. We'll activate that, draw 2 cards, and, well, let's get rid of Necroface. Necroface is banished, and boom, our opponent had the mill. We'll banish the top 5 cards of their deck. I mean, we get to do the same thing. So we have a Trap Trick, so that gives us options. We can use that to search out another feedback if we have to, depending on how much of our extra deck that we used. We can set an Inferno Tempest to play things safe. We can normal summon the Necroface, depending what our opponent has. So yeah, for an opening turn, that's actually really good. So let's go for another one. Okay, this is a good opening hand as well. We opened up with a Dimension Shifter, so we're going to activate that. Send it to the grave, and our opponent, well, they're not going to want to combo off anything because everything will end up getting banished. So we're going to activate Soul Absorption. Give us life points, and we do have a dark monster, so let's activate the Allure of Darkness. Draw 2 cards. Ooh-hoo-hoo. We can send Necroface, and that is going to banish cards on both sides. Chain. So, yes, got to keep activating it. So keep activating it because a lot's happened here. So, okay, so right now we're at 16,500 life points. But you know what? We can use a few more. Let's activate Pot of Desire to draw 2 cards. Activate it, gain life points, and 500 and 5,000. So we're at 22,000 life points. Holy moly. Alright, so we're going to set Trickstar Reincarnation. Let's set Inferno Tempest for good measure. And we're just going to end our turn. So even though we don't have feedback, we don't have any other form of defense, this is fine, because look at how much life points we have. They're not going to get rid of that. We have Trickstar Reincarnation just to disrupt their hand, and if they just happen to get a 3,000 beat stick on their side, there you go. We can activate Inferno Tempest, banish everything, gain a bajillion life points, and that will give them less cards to work with. So, end phase, let's go to our turn. We just drew a D&D Dynamite. Holy moly. So, let's set that. And, well, I have to set the Pot of Desires. Yeah, I don't have enough cards there, so if I had a Necroface, I could normal summon it and get all my cards back. But, yeah, that was a decent first turn play, even though we did not have feedback. So, let's try one more. Alright, so 3rd time's the charm. Again, we got Dimension Shifter. So we are going to activate Dimension Shifter, send it to the grave, and bam, opponent won't be able to do a lot of comboing. So let's set Trickstar. Let's activate Pot of Desires. Ooh, Inferno Tempest and DD Dynamite. But I want more. Let's go ahead, Allure of Darkness. And, we have feedback, DD Dynamite, Inferno Tempest, so let's send Necroface to mill all those cards. Because why not? Set DD Dynamite, set feedback, and let's set Inferno Tempest while we're at it. So, right now on our end phase, your opponent is going to have their main phase, and boom, we can activate Trickstar Reincarnation to disrupt their hand. They're not going to have a lot of banished cards at this point, so I would not activate DD Dynamite quite yet, but feedback, there you go, activate it, ditch majority or all of our extra deck, disable theirs, and we even have gizmag for a good measure. So yes, this is what the deck does, so if you're brave enough to try it, be my guest. Don't blame me, like really, don't. So how can you protect yourself from feedback? Well, unfortunately, the most effective way is by going first and filling out your negate board to negate the activation. But what if you don't use a combo deck? Well, here's some cards that can help you out. Denko Sekka will be one of the best. It's searchable and a level 4 normal summon. Once it's on the field, your opponent cannot set or activate any set magic or traps, so long as you don't control any yourself. A second best card would be Royal Decree. If you play a deck that doesn't have many traps, Royal Decree is a must for your side deck, especially with Eldritch being a thing. Prohibition is pretty good. You can activate it and declare feedback. Jinzo has been making appearances here and there. A normal summon 2400 beat stick that only requires 1 tribute is not difficult to pull off, and still one of the most effective monsters in the game despite its age. Due to feedback being a normal trap, back row destruction cards like Twin Twisters or Cyclone won't work half the time because it can't be chained. However, if you set Twin Twisters on your first turn, you can then destroy feedback once it's been set on the next turn. But this can only work if back row destruction cards is in your main deck. So what do you think? Is feedback a cause for concern, or do you think it's necessary in order to slow down the MR5 format? Let me know in the comments below, and remember to be a good sport, play the game, not the fame. See ya! Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe and click on the bell for notifications. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Duel Links, and Edo Pro. Links and user information are in the description below. Keep dueling and have fun!